Hello, everyone. Chuck Taylor here, Chief Go-Getter and co-founder here at CyberHoot. Welcome to Shoot the Hoot Raw. It's live, it's loose. It might get a little weird, so let's hoot. All right, let's hop into our slides. So today, here's our flight plan. So buckle up. Here's what we're hooting through today. First, we have a 10-minute rant on the story of CyberHoot, how the hoot hit the fan. So give you a little bit about the background of CyberHoot, kind of where we came from, how we met, how we progressed through and fought our way through against the challenges of business and starting a business and fighting each other through the business into our latest products and what we're doing today. All right. Then we're going to have a little nerd update as we usually do. What's going to be coming out, what's happening. Our open mic. Hopefully you guys have some questions and answers. Please send them over. If not, I do have a couple of questions I can kind of ask myself to answer that I think people may be interested in. And then lastly, we'll have our Hoot-worthy horror story, something a little bit different today that is not quite a story, but gives you a little bit more insight into to CyberHoot. All right, so let's hop over here. So let's get started with our story. So when Harry met Sally, or more specifically, I guess when Craig met Chuck. So Craig's one of the co-founders. We have 3 co-founders that started originally, and we've got another business partner who's come in. So there's 4 of us. So Craig and I first met. No, that's not us literally, right? So although I did have hair back then, it was 27 years ago. I did have hair, and Craig had hair as well. He had a full head of hair then. He still has hair today, but he has a full head of hair back then. So we kind of met. We worked at a company named Computer Science Corporation, which is now called DHC Technology. And we were both hired into their white hat hacking team. So it was called the Strike Force. So I met Craig, came in. He was the Canadian guy who came in and started talking, very upbeat, kind of fun to be around, very chipper. So we kind of hit it off and just clicked, I guess you could say, as friends. Now, this is when I was driving about an hour and a half one way to go to work. It was crazy. I get up at around 5 in the morning, leave at 5:30, be to work by 7. And Craig and I were both coming from like the Maryland, Delaware area, driving to like Baltimore. And we both had very long commutes, but Craig made a little bit of a smarter deal than I did. He would only be down there sometimes. So he would come down for the for work, but then he got hired over to another division inside of the company, and that division was called global web hosting, right? You know what global web hosting is, right? It's where they call it global web hosting because now your site can crash in like every time zone. So the global web hosting was the company's way of providing web hosting across the globe, and it was a service that was hosted out of Newark, Delaware. And Craig was hired to be like the vCISO, or maybe the vCISO wasn't the term then, but he was hired to be the head security guy, right? Meanwhile, I was still back into the Strike Force team doing white hat hacking and doing some learning actually on firewalls. I was teaching myself firewalls and learning things, and before you know it, we got a phone call down to Bowie, where I was, near Baltimore, Annapolis, that ballparking area. And they said, hey, we need someone who can come up here and learn, I think it was Gauntlet firewalls. The Gauntlet firewall is a proxy-based firewall. They said, do you have a firewall guy? Well, at that time, I had learned IP, I think it was IP chains back then. I taught myself IP chains, and I did a little bit of work with Sidewinder, with the Defense Computer Investigations Training Program. So they're like, well, Chuck, you're a firewall guy, go to Newark. Well, Newark was about a half hour from where I lived versus, when I was going down to like Bowie, Maryland, that area, it was like an hour and a half away. So can I go to Newark to work on Gauntlet firewalls? Yes, please. I can save an hour or 2 hours every day from commuting. So I went there, I kind of met and talked with Craig, kind of worked on the Gauntlet firewalls and helped them out, and had a good old time and met some good guys down there in networking, kind of networking things where they laughed at you if you couldn't do subnet masking in your head. So it really teaches you to learn quite a bit. So as I was doing work down there with Gauntlet and getting to know people and learning more about Craig and getting working with him more, he said, hey, listen, why not come up here and work with us? I have a position on my team here with global web hosting. Work with us. We'll take over the checkpoint firewalls as well. We'll be the security team. We'll do scans. Come on, we'd love to have you. I'm like, great. So that's what I did. So I ended up moving to the Newark offices and worked out of there with Craig for a few years. Right. And that was back during 9/11. That was the time frame. Remember, we were all in the office together when 9/11 hit. So that was an interesting time. So that's how kind of Craig and I met, and we got to know each other very well. Our families met, and we were kind of hanging out a bit. So really, really good times up there with global web hosting, right? So then after a while, we all kind of moved in a different direction. Craig kind of, actually, I wanted to get more into the development side. So there was another division, which was our managed security services provider, MSSP. They needed someone to come over and look at their reporting and stuff and see if we could build something in reporting. So I ended up taking a job with them, another division, the same company, but just a different group. So I went over to them and I started teaching myself PHP. So I, Linux, Apache, MySQL, and PHP. So I kind of taught myself PHP. And while I was working for the MSSP team, that team over there, it went through a number of different names, right? Well, a few years later is when I actually met my good buddy Raf. Raf is one of the guys who joined CyberHoot later as a business owner. He wasn't an original co-founder, but he joined us later. And at this point, I think, yes, I was bald at this time, and Raf was definitely bald at that time. So this was about, I want to say 20 years ago. Raf might need to correct me on that, but I think it's around 20 years ago that I met Raf. Really, really good friend of mine. He worked in the engineering team at, for that MSSP, for what we offered for cybersecurity services. So he did a lot of the deployments of things, and he was kind of known as the office prankster. So we had a lot of fun. Him and I got along very well, and we ended up putting together a soccer team. We played soccer together. It was really, really great time, and we kind of met and met Raf and his family, and to this day, his family and I are, and my family are very, very close. Right. So, and we work together every day. So me and Raf was definitely a blessing in my life. All right. So then we're working together. Next thing you know, here comes along Brad. So Brad is one of the co-founders of CyberHoot, and Brad was a little bit younger. So I want to say I've probably got, I don't know, maybe 15 years of age on Brad. So he's a little bit younger than me, quite a bit. So the way this worked was I was in the Smyrna Diner one day, one of the popular diners here in Smyrna, Delaware. I was in Smyrna Diner, and his mom came up to me and goes, hey, listen, does your company hire people to be interns? And I was like, you know what? I think they do. Let me see. So I go back and I talked to the company, and I was running the team of about 7 people then. So I was like, yes, actually we will. So Brad came in. I always refer to him as the young Thundercat. He came in full of energy and eager to learn. He was very, very young in his academic career and learning and stuff. So one of the things that we did that I'm really thankful for today, Brad would come over to my house 2 nights a week. So we both lived in the Smyrna area. He came over to my house 2 nights a week, and we would go through and I would kind of mentor him on development, databases, networking, system administration, and Linux, and all those individual pieces. Little did I know that I was actually investing in a future business partner. Glad I did, because really, really great to have Brad come on. He's like another version of me, just younger, but I wouldn't say handsomer. But good guy. So I met him, and I still see his family to this day around. Brad's moved away now to another state, but still see his family all the time. And Brad and I are constantly working together. Actually, just got off a call with Brad 40 minutes ago. All right. So next, all right, Craig has an idea, right? So of course, Craig has an idea, and trust me, when Craig has an idea, it's it's like it's how most great features and mild disasters actually get started around here at CyberHoot. So a lot of good ideas, and that didn't work out quite so good either. So, a lot of good. Craig has an idea. He says, you know what? So when we were working together in that global web hosting, they had something where you had to acknowledge policies. So they had like acceptable use policies, workforce policies, et cetera. And their internal team there had created just some way to upload a policy, and you had to acknowledge it, and then re-up every year, et cetera. And Craig had left the CSC company at that time and said we worked in different companies, and he found that there wasn't really anything out there that offered policy, compliance, et cetera, in like a cloud environment stuff. So Craig had the idea of, hey, maybe we can create this policy website and offer this up. So Craig calls me, and so he gives me a call. I'm going to go to my next slide here. Gives me this call and says, hey, Chuck, I have this idea, right? And yeah, he wanted me to take this project on as a development because I had my own actually development company on the side. I was working with CSC. I got approved to have my own development company. So I was like, well, I would do that for like some extra money every night. And he's like, I have an idea for a project. Can you help me out? And to be honest with you, I wanted to, but I couldn't. I was so overwhelmed, much like a lot of business owners are, right? Especially when you're starting out. I was so overwhelmed in my own company that I didn't have time to take the project on. But Craig was adamant. He's like, Chuck, I really want you involved in this. I said, well, tell you what, I have some friends of mine that are developers. What I'll do is I will have those guys come on and build it. And then if for some reason they bow out of the project, then I'll take the project on. And I'll be in it. I'll maintain it. I'll make sure just you have everything you need, but I might actually personally do it. He said, I appreciate it, Chuck. I just want you involved. So we did that. So these guys created what we call the first instance SPAL, right? SPAL. Now, I don't know if you know much about development, but usually when you do development, especially when you're really young and developing a piece of software, you don't know what you're going to name it, right? Like, so SPAL was born, but SPAL eventually became CyberHoot. We didn't know that at the time. So what we do is it's very common to give development projects a name, a code name. And the guys who built this are good friends of mine, and they named it SPAL. Now, any idea what that stands for? Go ahead and type it in here. Let me see. Nope. So I was going to do a banner real fast, but that should take too long. So SPAL stands for Simple Policy Access Website. So definitely made sense. It's a great acronym, right? But I'll be honest with you, I probably would have called it SPAL myself, because just saying SPAL doesn't sound right. It's like SPAL. I don't know, it just sounds SPAL. No, I'm not a big fan, but it's a code name. We've gone with it for all these years, and that's what it's still called today on the back end. It's called SPAL, right? So SPAL was born. So those guys built that project out, and handed over, and kind of we're good to go, right? Now, kind of like what I thought might happen was, the guys kind of lost interest in the project, the guys who originally built that very first release. So I got kind of pulled in and ended up becoming the lead developer on the project. So when we had this project, we started using it, and we were using it internally because you have to realize, I believe at this point, CyberHoot as a company, we are 10 years old, maybe 10 to 11 years old. And we've only been on the market, I would say, really heavily on the market for the last 5 or 6 years. Because before that, we were learning about the market. We were learning what people wanted, what they needed, et cetera. So we said, okay, we're going to go to market with this. We were finally ready. So what are we going to call it, right? So came with a bunch of things, right? The first was underneath what we call tailored governance services. And that was Craig's idea, because he's Craig Taylor. I'm Chuck Taylor. We're not related, but we are brothers from another mother, right, Craig? So tailored governance services, right? And then for a bit, we were like, well, we need to change the name. So you see there, security pasta, right? So that's kind of a funny thing. The idea was we were going to provide this to small to medium businesses and MSPs. And the concept was we wanted to feel homey and family oriented and so forth. Because even though we're not family per se, Craig, Raph, Brad, and I, we've known each other for anywhere between 18 and 27 years across everyone. So they were like, well, security pasta. So we're like, yeah, that's not going to work though, right? It's going to be confusing. But and a little side note, if you go to https://securitypasta.com, and you'll have to accept the badge certificate. So we don't have a certificate on it. But you'll see a little website that Brad put together. Just did a little bit of a reach out to securitypasta.com. So go on there, check it out. It's kind of funny, right? But we ended up landing on CyberHoot. So we were thinking, what do we do? Like, all right, education, learning. From our days of growing up, it was always like, give a hoot, don't pollute. And we're like, well, hoot, learning, owls, And cyber, of course, was natural. So CyberHoot was actually born. And we went back and forth quite a bit on this, right? Which we kind of do a lot with things, but CyberHoot was actually born. Now, Craig says to me, he says, can we add video training and quizzes? Because remember, at this point, it's only a policy access website. The framework was built to send out the emails. The framework was built to remind people and do all those pieces and to actually go through and accept. He goes, well, could we add video training to this and add quizzes? So I'm like, I'm sure we can. My thought was, we're just getting started with this. You're already adding more stuff, but sure enough. So we said, yep. We added more training and quizzes to it, and this is when the actual, what we call the power platform comes alive, right? It kind of wakes up and goes, hey, now this thing that was just doing policy access website, with that one question, can we add video training and quizzes? It opened the door. And now we started investing, adding more power to our platform. All right, then here comes Autopilot. So somewhere after we've got the power platform going, and we've got videos going, we've got policies going. We also have a survey module that was going. So we're like, all right, what can we do? And what we found was when people were logged into the platform, the power platform, the navigation wasn't as streamlined as we'd like it to be. And we found that everyone wasn't using everything in the platform. So we thought, well, can we build a simpler platform? I asked the question, can we build a simpler platform with full automation? Because what we found was, although you could schedule and have everything automated, you have to actually set the schedule and say, run this program for a year and send out this phishing attack and schedule them all. And you could schedule them and get it going. But then we said, can we have full automation and make it simpler? So I just got done reading this book, Blue Ocean Strategy, which is great. And it talks about getting out of the red, bloody waters where everybody is in your industry of cybersecurity training and offering something different, maybe even bring the price down if you can, and put it out there as something separate. And that's when Autopilot was born. What we did was we took Autopilot, we took kind of the ideas and what are people using mostly in the power platform. And it was two things. They were using the training, right? The cybersecurity training. So remember, in the power platform at this point, we've also added Hootfish to it already. So Hootfish was added, I would say, maybe last September. Hootfish was added to the platform, maybe a little bit earlier than that, but last September. Autopilot was born and started this year, January 1st, 2025. So what we did was, at that time, people were mostly using our video training, and they were using Hootfish. And that was most of what they were doing. So what we did was we said, and they wanted dark web monitoring as well. So we said, all right, what we'll do is we'll create a platform. And we'll make it so simple and so intuitive. We'll make it very simple navigation, very simple breadcrumbs, and then we'll put this context level sense of, where am I right now? What's my next thing? That's why you'll see in Autopilot to the right, it says, it used to say, what's next? Now it just says next, ? Because wherever you are on the platform, it tells you this is what the obvious next things are to do. So we created that. And when we built it, we said, all right, what we're going to do, we're going to make it so that they can get video training. As soon as they sign up a customer and they say start, automatic video training happens, right? No scheduling, no nothing. You just did a start date and it goes. Right? So we got the start date, we got that going, got the video training going, and we did a training every month. They got the foundational, I think you can set the speed on that just like you can today. And then the monthly training kicked in after that. And then we just run forever because our team puts together that training program every year. And then Hootfish, we said what we'll do, we'll give the users one Hootfish training a quarter, right? So once you hit start, on your training, it automatically did the monthly video trainings, and then it did a quarterly Hootfish. And that's all you got. And then dark web monitoring. And that was all that was in their platform. And what we found was people liked it. They were signing up for it. And it was simple, easy, intuitive. And we were finding that people were really saturating the platform with more and more customers in the platform, in their deployment. So we're like, this is great. But then they started saying, well, I need to have the ability to schedule the Hootfish every month or every other month, or I want to add in, I want to customize some of the messaging that's there, or maybe what about fish? What about traditional attack fish stuff? Traditional fish testing? Are you doing that in this platform? No, we're not. So the question was, they wanted that. They wanted more things. So what we said was, let's power them up. So power me up, Scotty, right? So the customers asked, can we get more power in Autopilot? And that's where power-ups were born. right? It's like He-Man said, "I have the power." He-Man, I don't know if you guys remember that. It was big when I was a kid. So power. So what we said was we'll take the Autopilot platform and we'll develop a structure that we can plug and play new power-ups in. So if people want to, um, turn it on, they can turn it on. If they don't want to turn it on, they can leave it off. And it allows them to put more customization and more functionality into the platform itself. So we did that. Everything went well. People liked it. And we're adding more and more in. So we released this power-up. Um, uh, let's see. I might be having my dates wrong because that's actually we released Power Up this year. So forgive my dates, I'm a little bit off. But Power Ups came out, and it was also a way for us to upsell current customers of Autopilot. They only had one or two things. So now we got this thing where we had the Power platform, then we had Autopilot. And I forgot to mention that we also offered Hootfish as a separate product as well. So you could go to hootfish.cyberhoot.com and you could log in and sign up for Hootfish only. We get a Hootfish once a month, right? And so that was kind of offered. But then we thought, could we put it all together underneath Power Ups and move everything into one platform? So we got the Power platform, but we also have our Autopilot, our full automation. Let's pull everything into there. So now what we end up doing, we said, okay, what we can do is we can add in more stuff. So we've added, of course, the videos are in there as a Power Up. The Hootfish is in there as a Power Up. The dark messaging is in there. Dark web monitoring is in there. Custom messaging, custom reporting, flat scheduling, the ability to say, I want this to go out every month, every other month, or quarterly. All that was put in. And so that Power platform was born. But the challenge was now we've got our regular Power platform people logged into. We've got autopilot.cyberhoot.com. We've got hootfish.cyberhoot.com. And now with this, we've got powerup.cyberhoot.com. So we've got all these different .coms around different platforms to log into. So it was a little tough, a little confusing. So we said, all right, what we'll do, the goal would be to migrate everyone out of things like Hootfish and the original Autopilot. We'll migrate all those customers into the Autopilot, the Power Up platform, right? And then once everyone moved into the Power Up platform, we'll just switch it back and call it Autopilot, right? And then now Autopilot is the Power Up platform, right? And just to give you a little bit of insight, Autopilot sits on top of a Power platform that's deployed for everyone. So that's how Autopilot came to be. And the login today is Autopilot. Oh, I did it wrong. Autopilot.cyberhoot.com. Oh, that's a mistake down bottom there. My fault. So autopilot.cyberhoot.com. That's the URL that will get you kind of logged into the site. I probably should have done that better. I missed that. I thought it looked short when I typed it earlier. Sorry about that. So autopilot.cyberhoot.com. All right. So that's sort of our history at a very, very high level. And more specifically, that's my view and how I saw things happen. I'm sure if you talk to Craig or you talk to Brad and then you talk to Raf as he came on, you might hear a little bit of a different story, but I believe the general theme and the way things worked is there. All right. So our nerd update. Wah, wah, wah. No release this week. Yeah, it happens sometimes and happens more and more as we get older. Like walking in a room and forgetting where you walked in, or I pushed to production on Friday. Bad things, right? This happens sometimes. I would say that maybe doesn't happen very often though. Maybe 1 in 50 times that we don't have a release. And I talked to Brad about this, and come to find out, we had a problem with some of the stuff we wanted to put into our pre-release. Since we could not get that pre-release working the way we wanted to and get it pre-released for testing, we opted not to do the release. The stuff that was supposed to go in this week is going to go into the pre-release this Thursday, and we'll go out to production next Tuesday. So when I do the Shoot the Hoot next Tuesday, I go over our nerd update. We'll talk about the things that are going out that night, which will be the things he's already working on. All right, Q&A, right? Q&A time. So, this is your opportunity. If you have some questions, throw them out to me. I'll give you the best answers. Give me your questions. I'll give you questionable answers, and Al will do his best to answer. Right. So if you have any questions, please send those across. And again, I am using a new platform and to do the streaming. I'm using this platform I've never used before, the streaming, and it sends the stream out to Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. But I don't really see any comments or questions coming in. So I think what I'll do next time is I'll have Brad or someone watch it as I'm live and have them send me a questions. I don't really see anything coming in. All of it's because people are too shy to ask or have no questions or don't know how to ask a question or it's just not working. So I'll have to look into that. So of course, when that happens, I have a few questions I can throw to myself. So first question, what's one thing I wish I knew when starting CyberHoot? I wish it's funny. So my mentor is Jim Rohn. May he rest in peace. He never met him, but I watch and listen to all his stuff, and he talks about you have to, like, for example, if someone gives you $1 million, you better learn very quick how to be $1 million, a millionaire, right? Because if someone said, "Hey, I'll give you $1 million today, or give you a year to earn $1 million," his recommendation is take the year to earn the $1 million, because not because of $1 million, because really the money is irrelevant at that point. It's you want to earn that $1 million because you want to become the person who can earn $1 million, right? You want to change who you are, and I started working on myself heavily with self-improvement and all types of things. I would say probably about 9 years ago. 8 years ago, and I really took to this. So I invest a lot in myself, a lot in learning. So one thing I wish I knew when starting CyberHoot, I wish I kind of knew how to assess markets better when I first started out, and assess what people needed better, because I was trying to chase. We were trying to chasing it first with some things, and I wish I would have known what I know about business now then. So it's not really specific to CyberHoot. I wish I would have been able to see ahead of time how important the automation was. Because I can be honest with you, I don't think the cybersecurity training when we started out 10 years ago was looking at full automation that we have today. I think security guys wanted to get in there and they wanted to do the hands-on doing cybersecurity training, scheduling, doing all the work. Now it's changed. So the main thing would be assessing markets and understanding what people want when they want it. So a lot of learning from a business perspective had to happen. All right. No other questions right now. Another one I'll throw up. Which CyberHoot feature surprised us by becoming a fan favorite? It's funny because when we first started, and Craig will tell you this, that we had the opinion that everyone wanted to go in there and do the work. We're very hands-on people. We go in and we do work. We do the actual scheduling. We want to be hands-on cybersecurity. We're the engineers, right? Well, I don't know if it feels like there was a change that happened over the last 4 to 5 years, and people and MSPs and businesses, they want the automation. They kind of want to, they're running their own businesses. They have a lot to do. They kind of want to outsource that cybersecurity to a strong company, and I believe that's us, right? They outsource it to us. They just want it to run. So they go in, they sign up the customer, they send them to automatic, and they roll. So I would say that the one that surprised me the most is just that automation, that people really wanted that level of automation and to outsource it to us, which we're happy to do because we've got over 60 years of cybersecurity experience at our fingertips that we use to build the platforms, the training, etc. So really, really exciting. So I would say the automation is probably the feature that surprised me that people would love the most. I would probably say that 90 to 95% of our customers use the automation. All right, so the Hoot-worthy horror story. Laugh, cringe, and learn. No story this week. I did that on purpose because what I wanted to tell you about was it's been a journey, right? And we're still going and we're going strong. But if you think about this, every time that the team would get together and we talked about something innovative or we want to improve something, et cetera, it was like the four of us on our call going to battle, right? One person wouldn't agree and one person would, and then sometimes we'd have heated battles, nothing disrespectful, but definitely passionate and heated. And I'm one of the sparks that I guess I'm very passionate about what I do. So I'm in there. I'm like, hey, this is important. It's what we need to do. So we kind of battle. So, sometimes it looks like a horror story. If you were to join some of those Zoom calls, like, what is happening here on this call? What is this, a CyberHoot? What are you guys doing, right? But that's all part of the magic, right? And like Owen Wilson said in I think the movie was The Internship with, was it the Doodle Internship? When they were all arguing and stuff back and forth, he goes, I love this friction. That's how you get a fire started. And I think what we've done is we've got a fire started at CyberHoot. We've got very exciting things. We've got more things coming out. I have Brad and I talked, and we're going to talk with the team there. We've got more ideas today that we're going to talk about with the team on our Tuesday call. about some things we want to do and change and push out that are going to become, I hope, a high priority for us. And hopefully it won't be a battle as much as, yes, that's great, let's do it. But a lot more exciting things to come. But I can tell you, CyberHoot, we are a very close-knit, kind of like a family feeling kind of team. But families argue sometimes too, and we don't always agree. So we kind of go back and forth and we fight sometimes, but it's well worth it because at the end, things like Autopilot and all this power comes out, our bonds get stronger, our platform gets stronger, and our service gets better. So love these guys. Love and hate them at the same time sometimes, but I love these guys, and we're doing good things, and I look forward to our Zoom calls all the time. All right, so pretty much that's Shoot the Hoot Raw this week. So listen, come back next week, same Hoot time, same Hoot channel. I'll have a new topic that we send out for you guys, and we'll try to go from there. I know we went long today, 31 minutes. Wow, that was long, Chuck. But good to see you guys. Hope to see you guys next week, and we'll figure out those questions. Send them in.